Morning, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Jesse's Occupational Awareness. You know, I call it that, but all I really never talk about is prison stuff because, well, it seems to be what everybody's interested in, so that's what we're going to continue on. It's about 30 degrees outside. My cat just ran right across me. She's a sneaky thing. It's about 30 degrees outside. Still blanketed with snow, day 3 of it. And because of this new Omicron variant that's going on with COVID, I'm an instructor at the training center down in Yorktown. So when I don't have an active class, we don't have to go to work and do the busy work. So I got Monday, actually I got the rest of the week now for myself. So I figured it'd be a good idea to take today, even though it's not on the weekend schedule that I like to continue on with these videos. We'll take Monday. You guys, when y'all get off from work or whatever it is everyone does, take a look and enjoy the channel. I'm going to continue on with our Contraband series. I've had a lot of good comments from viewers talking about how ingenious the guys are, the ingenuity that they have. Man, if they could use that shit for productivity in the free world, there's no telling what could get accomplished. But they don't. They use it for bad shit. And right now I'm going to show you how just 3 little simple items can be used for something that you probably would never think you could use it for. So bear with me. It's going to be a little bit demonstrational, and we're going to go from there. I got 3 items here. Okay. Chip bag. I've already opened it, dumped the contents. Of course, they would eat the contents. Of course. Where would they get this? Commissary. Commissary, garbage, staff bringing it in, throwing it in the garbage. What's garbage to you is treasure to those guys, and they can use it. Next up, lid. This came off of a peanut butter jar that I got from the store. They could buy peanut butter, instant coffee. It probably comes in a bag now, but I know at the time, 2013-14 at Styles, they would get actual jars. I know because, excuse me. I know because that's what that MFer used to throw all that nasty chunk all over me. Gave him a peanut butter jar. And lastly, rubber band. Okay. They couldn't buy those from commissary. Where they was typically come from, the mailroom. Mailroom was awful about it. When guys would get a bunch of envelopes, they'd bundled it all up with a rubber band. It was easier to hand a bulk stack through the food slot than just individual letters. Now they were supposed to unband it. I say they, whenever the mailroom associates, I don't remember what they were called, when they would pass out the mail, usually night shift would do that. When they would pass out the mail, they were supposed to unband it. A lot of times they didn't, and they'd keep the rubber band. Now, you're thinking, you can't do nothing with a rubber band lid and a freaking torn up chip bag. Bear with me. It's not going to be perfect. Just let me work through it. If I knew how to time lapse on videos, I would. Okay. Now, disclaimer, none of this is a secret. Okay, I'm not the first person to do this. I'm not revealing secrets or giving away the game or nothing like that. This is all public knowledge. I'm just showing it out on this channel. So, by taking the simple chip bag, putting it over the lid, and putting the rubber band on it. Alright, there's that there. Basically what you've made is a mirror. Alright, they They couldn't trim with actual scissors, but they had their shaving razor. And a lot of them would use it for anything but shaving. It cut all this excess away. Or a lot of times, they would take the actual lid, put it on this, trace out how many of them they could cut, and they could essentially make 2, 3 out of these. So it's kind of hard to see, but with that rubber band around it, yep, mirror. Okay. Jesse, what the fuck, man? You just showed me how to make a shaving mirror. Why is that anything dangerous in the penitentiary? Well, inside their cells, they had a toilet, a little sink. The spout came up, you push the button, water would come out for 2, 3 seconds, whatever. They were all different. And up on the wall, it wasn't a mirror. It was stainless steel, polished up to where they could see their reflection. Now, they would try to rip it off the wall, use it for anything, whatever. It was there for them to use. The little mirror that I just made right there, there was so much that they could actually do with it. All right. At the Styles, at least in, where was it? Everywhere in the Styles, start thinking back. Everywhere in the Styles, it was the doors that would slide left and right. There wasn't open bars like you see in the movies with the older facilities. Now, a lot of the older facilities, it's still Ellis, Gorey, the Walls unit, all those around the Huntsville area. The cells were the old style bars. And they could take what I just showed you there, they'd hold it out through the bars, and they could, now they couldn't stick their head through the bars, so they couldn't see what was going down the tier, but they could stick that out the window, good Lord. They could stick that out the bars, and they could see who was coming up and down the tiers. All right, you've probably seen this in some of the older movies, that movie Brubaker, Shawshank Redemption, all those are real good examples of how they could do that. Thing with this mirror, you couldn't break it. All right, they couldn't really use it as a weapon much. You could take the lid and cut it up into a shank. I'm not going to show how to do that, but they could. So if they were out that, all they lost was a bag, a rubber band, and a lid. You know, the hardest thing for them to get was going to be the bag of chips, but they had ways of doing it. So if they lost it, they essentially lost nothing. And there were all kinds of things that they could do with this mirror. They could use it, well, to see their reflection. They could use it for shaving. The ones who did have visitation, which the ones that I dealt with in SEG was very few, very, very far in between. The ones that would get visitation were ones that were temporarily in SEG because of some kind of discipline infraction. The ones that were there permanently, they didn't get no damn visitation. They didn't have no family coming to visit them, no friends. Not that I knew of, because I never took them to fucking visit any kind of family or anything. So they would have to bum, borrow, and, well, steal to get those items to make these things. All right. A couple other things that they could do with it. Communication. Talked about in previous videos how the guy over here would start yelling. This guy would hear it. He'd pass it on down. This guy would hear it, pass it back, and just verbal yelling. All right. If you ever watch the show Lock Up, where they talk about how they flush the toilet, I'm doing my finger because they had to press a button to flush the toilet. They could flush the toilet, yell down in it, and voices would go down. That wasn't how the Styles was set up, at least in SEG where I was. There were just 2 tiers. They didn't have to do that. They could hear. Well, if there was something that they needed to communicate that they didn't want everybody to know about, because what this guy's saying to here and there, the guy in cell 3, he's going to hear it as well. So if they wanted to be secretive about it, they had to find another way. Well, they couldn't write mail to each other. Inmates at TDCJ, and I believe every prison in the country, they're forbidden from writing mail to each other. I can't write a letter mail it and have it go to inmate in whatever pod or wherever they are from there. They're prohibited from that. So they find other ways. Well, all right, so we made a mirror. It's hard to paint a picture of what the cell looks like because there are no pictures of it, but the wall behind me, there would be about that wide, about as long as my fingers are stretched out, a little over arm length, about that wide. That was a little window, a little glass. That was designed to give them some kind of a sense of humanness, whatever. Okay, and the sun would shine through it. It'd shine in the cell. They'd catch a beam of it. They could get creative enough. I'm pointing at it because it's sitting right there in front of me. They could get creative enough that they could. I can't do it. They could catch a beam of light, and it would reflect off of it, just like any other kind of mirror or anything like that. And they could direct this beam somewhere. All right. And if you look on the wall, just like a flashlight, whatever, just like a flashlight shining on the wall. Okay. And while they're holding it, they move their hand, block the beam. Block the beam. Okay. A lot of these guys knew the old Morse code. Everyone's familiar with SOS, dot, 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 dot. All right. It went like that for the entire alphabet. I don't know the symbols or the flashes, but they knew this. And they could direct this beam up against the wall and start signaling. And whoever they were trying to signal, they would either write down or had it memorized. They would write down how many dots and how many dashes were going on. A dot would be quick, a dash would be longer. All right. So he's trying to send out some kind of a message to somebody. He's going to have to use a runner, maybe 2, maybe 3 runners. Okay, the guy over in this far cell right here, he may not be able to see it. So this guy's signaling against the wall. All right. Another guy's taking notes, writing down 1, 2, 3, 4 dashes. That may be the letter D. All right. I don't know Morse code. I'm fairly certain they weren't using the actual official one. It was probably one that they had created themselves. I was watching a show about the KKK, and when they were all in jail and all in prison, they would write notes and letters to each other. Not the inmates that were already incarcerated, but friends from the outside. They mail it to him. All right. I can't send a letter to a guy over in D-Pod. I can mail it to Pookie Bear. Pookie Bear copies it down, mails it back in. Well, different letters, the way that they were shaped, words that they would use, the letter would make absolutely no sense. It followed no rhyme or reason. It was all written out in code. The show goes on to explain how they were able to break the code, get into the communications, and actually learn what these guys were saying to each other. The same thing went on here, except they didn't have paper. They didn't have stamps. They didn't have a way to mail this. They could get that little simple thing and start doing light signals. We've all heard of in movies and stuff, smoke signals and things like that. You can do it with light. Okay, back in the days before radio, ships, they would use flashings of lights. That's how they would communicate each other. 2 flashes of a light. I'm going to turn my boat to the left. All right, you can go down the right side of me, right as we say, nautical starboard. That's just one simple way of it. So they do these flashes on the wall, and this guy's sitting there taking notes. All right. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of effort. A lot of times they'd have to start over. This was for really important messages that this guy didn't want anybody else to know except who he was talking to. They're either planning out some kind of a hit. That was the way that Texas calls it STGs, security threat groups. That's the way that the STGs could communicate with each other and get word back and forth. It didn't happen in 5 minutes. This was a whole day process, a whole day procedure. to get just a simple message out and to somebody else. But these guys had nothing but time. And like I said in the start of the video, they weren't using this time to figure out how they were going to get back into society, start paying bills, cure cancer, none of that. They were doing it all for malicious reasons. I don't want to sound too melodramatic about it, but that's just the truth of the reality. And I hope I've gotten the message out enough so far in these videos that, man, these were bad dudes. People that are writing to these guys and got them as friends and pen pals. I'm sorry. I don't agree with it. It's a good gesture to these guys, but please just watch what you say to these freaky nasty dudes. There's no telling what they're going to use it for. I've already had some of them send me messages. I've had threats. Guys talking about coming to my house and burning my house down. Man, come on and visit me. I'm here. All right. Folks, man, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. I hope I'm shining a little bit of light. Metaphor from my homemade mirror there. I think I actually might take that and go shave with it here a little later on. Got about a day's worth going on there. Folks, I hope that y'all have enjoyed this video. If you do, tell me about it. If you don't, tell me about it. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. We're nowhere near out of this pandemic. Take care of each other. I'll see y'all in the next video. Later.